In this session we're going to talk about the three types of symbols that you can have in Flash. Remember that symbols are probably the most important object in Flash, and that you want to build a collection of them in your library that you can then drag onto the stage as instances to create your animation. Now at this stage we're just looking at one frame, we're not looking at animation, we're looking at building up a scene, but over time you will be putting assets in at different frames to create an animation. So I'm going to insert these actually into the library directly rather than putting them on the stage. So I'm going to go either right click, no I can't go right click, I'll go either insert new symbol or control F8. So I'll just go insert new symbol, and the first thing it says is what do you want to call it, and I'll just call this one circle. And the most important information you need to give it is the type of object it is. Now you may remember from the last session that when we convert an existing shape into a symbol, we also get to choose a registration point. You don't actually get that option when you create a new symbol, but you can actually change the registration point later. So the types of symbol are the most important things we need to look at. And there are three kinds of symbol: movie clips, buttons, and graphics. By all, the most important one is movie clip by far. Because it can actually take on the properties of the others. But in our animations we're going to actually be looking at movie clips and graphics. For the Rube Goldberg we're probably going to use graphics most of the time, but when you're doing action scripts, movie clips are definitely the most important symbols. So this one I'm just going to call a movie clip. It's called circle, and I'll go in, and you'll notice I'm now inside the circle symbol, and I'll just draw some sort of a circle. I'll hold down the shift key so that it's a perfect circle, and you'll notice I've got a symbol in here called circle with a little sort of cog thing that shows that it's a movie clip. Now I'm going to insert another type of symbol, and this one I'll choose I'll actually choose button, and I'll call this one rectangle, and I'm inside the rectangle symbol. Now you'll notice because I chose button, something's happened. The timeline for the button is actually just 4 frames long. It's the 4 button states: up state, over state, down state, and hit area. We're not going to worry too much about that right now, but I'm just going to draw my rectangle in here, and you'll notice I've now got another symbol called rectangle, and it's got a slightly different icon. It's got a finger pushing a button to tell us that it's a button. So I've got a circle and a rectangle, and I'll insert one more symbol, insert new symbol. This one I'm going to make a graphic, and I'll do a what'll I do, sausage. I might make this one a slightly different colour, and I'll draw a sausage. So I'll draw an oval thing, and then I'll move and just bend it slightly to be a bit of a sausage. And now I've got a sausage. So see these 3 icons: one for the movie clip, which is cogs, one for a button, which is a finger pushing a button, and the one for a graphic symbol, which is 3 little shapes. Just one point: if I want to change the registration point is actually where this little crosshair appears. So that would put the registration point at the top left, that would put the registration point in the middle. Just to show you, if I go back to my main timeline and drag my sausage onto the stage, you'll see the registration point is pretty well in the middle. Whereas if I go back into my sausage and move it to here, and now drag it onto the stage, I don't even have to drag anyone on, you can see that the registration point crosshair is the top left hand side each time. So they're the 3 types of symbols: movie clips, buttons, and graphics, and each of those has particular characteristics. For example, if I double click the movie clip symbol, we see that it has its own timeline. If I double click the button symbol, we see that it has its own timeline but only has 4 frames. And if I double click the graphic symbol, just like the movie clip, it has its own timeline. The main difference between the movie clip and the graphic symbols are that the movie clip timeline runs independently of the main timeline, whereas the graphic symbol timeline synchronizes in lockstep with the main timeline. And we'll talk more about that later.